The Hymn of Right Faith by Shinran, founder of the True Pure Land Sect in Japan. I take refuge in the Tathagata of endless life, adoration to his unimaginable light. While Dharmakara Bodhisattva was an aspirant in training under the Buddha Lokesvara Raja, perceiving the origin of all the Buddha's pure lands and the good and evil of these lands and their men and gods, he established the supreme and all-surpassing promise, and put forth the seldom found tremendous resolution. He meditated for 5 ages, selecting from them. He vowed repeatedly, "The 10 quarters will hear my name." Everywhere he emits eternal unlimited light, unobstructed light, matchless light, the king of blazing lights, the light of purity, the light of joy, the light of insight, uninterrupted, inconceivable, and nameless light, a light surpassing sun and moon, which lights up myriad lands. All the crowds of living beings are favored with this light. To invoke the prime vow is the act of those set for right. The sincere and joyful believer's vow is the ground cause. That they are equal to Buddhas and gain great nirvana is because the sure-to-reach cessation vow is fulfilled. The Tathagata's reason for appearing in the world was just to preach the ocean of Amida's primal vow. The seas of beings in these evil times of 5 decays ought to believe the truthful words of the Tathagata. If we arouse, though even once, a thought of love and joy, even with unsevered passions, we will reach nirvana. Common men, saints, and blasphemers all enter equally, as all waters entering the sea acquire one taste. The enfolding light of his heart ever shines to guard us. Yet, though ignorance's darkness is already shattered, still the mists and clouds of anger and of cupidity constantly obscure the sky of sincere and earnest faith, even as, although the bright sun is hidden by the clouds, it is no longer dark, but bright below the clouds and mists. Have faith, listen reverently, and rejoice in the blessing, and right away you will transcend the 5 bad destinies. Each and all, both good and evil, if they hear and trust the Tathagata's mighty promise, the Buddha calls them great, supremely liberated ones. The name for these people is Pundarika lotuses. The Buddha invocation of Amida's primal vow, for evil living beings in wrong views and in self-pride gladly to receive, trust, and hold to this, is hard indeed. Among hard things there is no hard thing that surpasses this. The philosophers of India, far in the western sky, and noble monks in both the Middle Kingdom and Japan showed that the great saint's real aim in coming into the world was to show how the primal oath responds to beings' needs. Sakyamuni Tathagata, on the Mount of Lanka, foretold to the assembly that in southern India Nagarjuna Bodhisattva would come into the world, to shatter all the theories of being and non-being, to proclaim the supreme doctrine of the great vehicle, to reach joyful stage and be born in Sukhavati. He showed that the hard way was a painful journey on land, and urged faith in the easy way, a pleasant trip at sea. If you call to mind Amida Buddha's primal promise, automatically, instantly, you enter certitude, and you only call the Tathagata's name constantly, to give thanks, as you should, for the great oath's large compassion. Vasubandhu Bodhisattva, writing his treatise, said, "I take refuge in the Buddha of unobstructed light." Relying on the sutra, he showed the Pure Land's real state. He amply explained the great vow of abrupt transcending. Leaning fully on the grace conferred through the prime vow's power, he explained single-heartedness to save common beings. If you turn and enter the great jewel sea of virtue, you are sure to gain entry to the great meeting's number. When you reach the treasury of Lotus Blossom's domain, you will realize a true suchness and essence body, and travel through the woods of passion, showing magic powers, manifesting transformation in birth and death's gardens. Danran, our teacher, toward whom the emperor of Yang always turned and offered rites as to a bodhisattva, learned the Pure Land doctrine from the scholar Bodhi-Ruchi, burned his Taoist books, and then took refuge in the Pure Land. Commenting on Vasubandhu Bodhisattva's treatise, he showed that the reward land's cause and fruit is the promise. The grace for rebirth and return proceeds from other power. The source of deciding for right is just a mind of faith. If an ignorant, tainted common man arouses faith, he will know that birth and death is the same as nirvana. He will certainly attain the land of endless splendor and convert everywhere all living beings that exist. Doshaku settled that Bodhi, the saint's way, was too hard, and made clear that only the Pure Land is enterable. He deprecated the 10,000 good works of self-power and urged exclusive calling of the perfect, virtuous name. He kindly pointed out 3 marks of doubts and 3 of faith as a merciful guide in the formal, last, and dead laws. A lifetime evildoer, if he meets the vast promise, reaches the realm of peace and ease, attains the lovely fruit. Only Zendo clearly grasped what the Buddha really meant. He pitied both the mindful and moral and the wicked, and showed that the name is cause and the splendor condition. If he will enter the primal vow's great sea of wisdom, right away the disciple will receive the diamond mind. After an instant of rejoicing and happy response, just like Vaidehi, he will acquire the threefold patience. Thereafter he will know essence's constancy and bliss. Genshin, expounding widely the entire lifetime's teaching, leaned toward refuge in the land of peace and exhorted all. Classing adherents as entire deep and diverse shallow, he rightly distinguished the 2 lands of reward and change. The most sinful wicked man need only call the Buddha. We also are within his encompassing protection. Though our defilements blind our eyes so we cannot see it, yet great compassion always shines unwearied upon us. Genko, my own teacher, who understood Buddhism clearly, had sympathy for good and evil ordinary men. He set up the true religion in this remote island, and proclaimed the chosen primal vow in this evil age. If we return to wander in the house of birth and death, that which detains us is surely the sentiment of doubt. If we could swiftly enter tranquil, unconditioned bliss, a mind of faith certainly enables us to enter. The great sutras, bodhisattvas, and teachers of our sect have saved and rescued countless men from the gravest evils. With the same heart, people of this time, both monks and laymen, should simply have faith in the words of these eminent monks.